Cher is the goddess of reinvention, the phoenix of pop, who has refused to vanish for nearly 7 decades. She was once the little girl in an orphanage, her shoes held together with rubber bands, and she became a woman who built an empire worth more than 360 million euro. Nobody in the music industry has endured with her kind of fire. She bent time itself, turning poverty into platinum records, heartbreak into history, and even illness into legacy. She gave us I Got You Babe in 1965, and the world believed in her voice for the first time. She gave us Believe in 1998, and the world has never stopped. The numbers are staggering. Over 100 million records sold worldwide, a Las Vegas residency that grossed more than $250 million, and record-breaking tours. But behind the curtain was pain. Knees so swollen, she needed injections backstage just to perform. In Malibu, her Italian Renaissance-style mansion looks down on the Pacific, worth tens of millions, with bronze doors and marble floors that open onto endless ocean views. Across Beverly Hills sit more estates, each a chapter of her survival. In her garage are Rolls-Royces that gleam like jewelry, a sleek Porsche 911, and a Cadillac Escalade that has carried her through triumph and sorrow alike. But this isn't simply about wealth. Every dollar was bought at a price. Each house, each car, stands as a witness to nights when her body trembled under the lights, when her voice gave out mid-note, when gowns glittered only to disguise bruises. To her family, these aren't trophies. They are reminders of a mother who poured out love through sacrifice, and of an artist who gave blood, sweat, and tears for every song. Sherilyn Sarkeesian was born May 20th, 1946, in El Centro, California. Her childhood was shaped not by comfort, but by absence. Her mother, Georgia Holt, was a singer with a dreamer's spirit, but worked at a Fresno donut counter to survive. Her father, John Sarkeesian, an Armenian-American truck driver, was charming, but unreliable. He disappeared almost as soon as he arrived, leaving behind a marriage that collapsed before Cher could even speak. Georgia remarried again and again, 7 marriages in total, some repeated. Cher and her half-sister Jorgan grew up watching their mother chase stability that never came. At just 2 years old, Georgia, overwhelmed and broke, left Cher in a Catholic orphanage. A toddler with questioning eyes reached for strangers' hands while her mother walked away. Her early years were unstable. Grandparents' homes, rented rooms, shelters where nothing was hers. Winters meant shivering under thin blankets. School brought whispers about her tattered clothes. Once she wrapped rubber bands around her ruined shoes just to keep them on her feet. Life swung between scarcity and brief spells in Beverly Hills when a new husband offered temporary escape. These jolts didn't thrill her. They carved confusion into her identity. She also struggled in school. Dyslexia and an undiagnosed learning disorder left her branded as lazy or defiant. Teachers misunderstood her silence. But while other girls dreamed of dances and dresses, Cher was already imagining rhinestones and spotlights. On stage, she wouldn't be invisible. At 16, she left school, packed a tiny suitcase, and boarded a bus to Los Angeles. The city in the early 1960s was littered with broken promises, but it gave her one ally, Sonny Bono. At first, he was simply a man with a spare couch. Then survival turned into partnership into love. In 1965, their duet I Got You Babe soared to #1. For the first time, Cher was not invisible. She was undeniable. But fame is fickle. Their films flopped, hits faded, and the spotlight dimmed. To survive, they took work in Las Vegas nightclubs where sequins glimmered under smoky lights. For Cher, each song carried the ache of abandonment, the fear of poverty, the hunger for permanence. Every note was a brick in the empire she was building, not out of privilege, but out of pain. By the late 1960s, their stardom was fading. Barely in her 20s, Cher stood with Sonny at a cliff's edge. Money gone, time gone, momentum gone. Reinvention wasn't luxury, it was oxygen. Together, they turned to comedy and quick banter, transforming themselves into a nightclub act with razor wit and undeniable chemistry. That gamble paid off. In 1971, the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour debuted, streaming into millions of homes. For audiences, it looked like a glittering revival. For Cher, just 25, it was survival in sequence. Behind the scenes, the marriage was unraveling. By 1974, their partnership fractured, and in 1975, the marriage ended. Cher, only 29, found herself nearly penniless, grieving a great love while staring at financial ruin. But she refused to disappear. In 1975, she launched her own variety show, simply titled Cher. Critics predicted failure without Sonny, but she proved them wrong. Ratings soared, and she emerged as her own star. Sonny's solo show collapsed after one season. The chapter had closed, yet musically she struggled. Albums like Stars, 1975, I'd Rather Believe in You, 1976, and Cherished, 1977, barely registered. Then came Gregg Allman, a southern rock star battling his own demons. In June 1975, just 3 days after her divorce was finalized, Cher married him. Within 9 days, the marriage crumbled under the weight of his addictions. They split, reunited, fought, reconciled. In 1976, Cher became pregnant, and their son Elijah Blue was born that July. Still, by 1978, the marriage ended. By her early 30s, Cher had lived through 2 divorces, a collapsed career, and the humiliation of financial loss. Still, she would not bend. The 1970s ended with the radio moving on. Cher gambled again. In 1978, she signed with Casablanca Records and tried disco. Take Me Home, 1979, went gold, selling over 500,000 copies in the U.S., giving her a financial lifeline. The follow-up Prisoner failed. By 1980, she joined guitarist Les Dudek in the rock band Black Rose. For the first time, she wasn't Cher the star. She was just another bandmate sweating it out in clubs. But without her name on the cover, the record was ignored. By 1982, the music, the band, and the romance were all gone. At 36, most would have quit. Cher started over, this time as an actor. In 1983, she stunned audiences in Silkwood as Dolly Pellicker, a role stripped of glamour. The film grossed over $35 million, earned her a Golden Globe, and brought her first Oscar nomination. Hollywood was paying attention. Then came Mask, 1985, The Witches of Eastwick, 1987, and Suspect, 1987, each a critical and financial success. And in 1987, Moonstruck. As Loretta Castorini, Cher was luminous, ordinary, unforgettable. The movie earned nearly $100 million, and in 1988, Cher held the Academy Award for Best Actress. It wasn't just a victory, it was vindication. The Oscar didn't mean security. By 1989, she returned to music with Heart of Stone, which sold over 4 million copies worldwide. If I Could Turn Back Time stormed the charts, its leather-clad video banned by MTV, yet immortalized in pop culture. The royalties gave her stability at last, allowing her to buy her Malibu estate. But the 1990s were unkind. Albums faltered, contracts drained finances, and whispers grew. By 1996, many thought she was finished. The Malibu mansion stood as proof of success, but inside she feared being erased again. Then came 1998. At 52, she recorded Believe. Critics scoffed, but the song became a global explosion. 11 million albums sold, more than $100 million in revenue, and auto-tune changed music forever. On the Do You Believe tour in 1999, Cher often collapsed backstage. IV drips replaced meals, bruises hid under rhinestones, but audiences never knew. The tour grossed over $100 million. Her farewell tour, launched in 2002 and stretched to 2005, grossed more than $250 million, one of the biggest tours in history. Night after night, fireworks lit arenas. Morning after morning, her knees swelled until she needed injections just to stand. Fans saw brilliance. Cher saw bruises. But she kept going because each show turned pain into provision. Her fortune gleamed in headlines, but behind the curtain lay exhaustion and illness. By the early 1990s, a chronic viral condition had begun draining her energy. Pneumonia worsened things, leaving her struggling for air. Roles slipped away. Tours were canceled. Each no carried not only disappointment, but fear that the ghosts of instability had returned. Then, in January 1998, tragedy struck. Her former partner, Sonny Bono, died in a skiing accident in Aspen. Cher flew from London to his memorial, where she stripped away her rhinestones and spoke as a grieving woman, not a star. Her eulogy was raw. "Without him, I would not be here." For all the betrayals and battles, love and gratitude remained. Through palaces and platinum, Cher faced the most relentless role, mother. Fame devours time. Her son, Elijah Blue Allman, admitted that being sent to boarding school at 7 left scars. When you go to boarding school at 7 years old, it's kind of hard to feel like you're not being shunned. Her other child, Chaz Bono, born Chastity Son Bono, walked through a different fire, transitioning publicly in the late 2000s. Cher admitted she struggled at first. "I did not go through it that easily." But she listened. She learned, and she grew. Today, she says with pride, "Chaz is so happy now, and we get along better than ever." Love in her family has not been simple, but it has endured. Now, as she nears 80, Cher's wealth is valued at $360 million, but her true legacy is not measured in mansions or cars. Yes, her Malibu estate, purchased for $3 million in 1989 and completed in 1999, is now worth up to $85 million. Yes, she has owned the famed Alwood estate in Holmby Hills, a Moroccan palace in Benedict Canyon, and a Beverly Hills retreat bought in 2013. Yes, her garage houses Rolls-Royces, a Porsche 911, a Cadillac Escalade, even her pink Mustang from the 1960s. But her greatest empire isn't in stone or chrome. It's in resilience. Heart of Stone sold 4 million copies. Believe moved 11 million and rewrote music. Her Las Vegas residencies, 2008-2011, added $60 million. Her farewell tour topped $250 million, yet every cent was etched in sacrifice. Today, mornings are quiet with meditation, evenings spent watching the Pacific fade into twilight. She admits, "Some days I see my mother in the mirror. Some days I see a stranger, but I always see someone who survived. And even now, love endures." Her relationship with Alexander Edwards, decades her junior, has stirred whispers. But to her, it is not spectacle. It is solace. She has learned to love on her own terms. So what is Cher's fortune? Is it the Malibu estate? The Rolls-Royces? The millions in record sales? Or is it something far more lasting? The defiance to rise after every collapse? To turn betrayal into bricks, illness into armor, and heartbreak into empire? If Cher's music ever carried you when you felt invisible, if her survival reminded you that no ending is final, if her fire ever warmed you when your own light dimmed, then her real empire lives in you. Because she showed us all it can be done.